Check 1, 2. Put on a show and see who shows up, end quote. Michael Warner's advice for how to form a public. For Warner, discourse begins with an individual human, a hero of sorts, specifying, quote, in countless highly condensed ways, end quote, how he wants his public to look, act, think, and feel. Our hero. Our hero who wants to make a poetic world begins his show. About 100 skinny, white, alternative, post-punk, indie metal ska, they're costumed, makeup smeared, sweat-drenched bodies exhausted from 2 opening bands wait. The drummer, guitarist, and bassist nod before they begin laying down their intro riffs. A, quote, old brown cuss, end quote, enters the stage dressed as a sock monkey and begins a long, slow rant before words begin to bolt out of his mouth, demanding chords and snare and 16th notes. This performance by the band Annihilate in 2004 at Springfield, Illinois' annual Halloween Hogwash Show,
the Hobgoblin Spookadelic,
exemplifies Warner's public. The show engages strangers with a common discursive bond based on a shared text, style, and politics. It is only one utterance in a larger scene composed of other musicians, alcoholics, painters, graffiti artists, drug dealers, political activists, skateboarders, teachers, business professionals, glass blowers, actors, baristas, poets, students, and so forth. While some of the crowd will never return to the scene, many in the audience are engaged in the creation of a poetic world within the society of South Central Illinois. They are regulars at local shows, art installations, parties, rallies. They are, conscious of it or not, part of a political project.
Second, each kid has their own unique politics. When Jeff, Annihilate's lead singer, says,
"This is the song about that damn magazine, I'm telling you right now. That dirty Maximum Rock and Roll magazine, those fucking police, they think they're the police of punkdom, gonna tell me because I'm a Negro that I'm smoking dope. I'm getting mad."
Some of these kids hear scathing critique of a racist society. Some of these kids hear a critique of a revolutionary counterpublic that taints its progressive, individualistic ideology with stereotypes, standard social hierarchies, and outdated power structures. Some of these kids are the historians of punkdom. They hear a reference to a NoFX album. Some of these kids hear this as a call to be themselves, to defy categorization. Some of these kids are just waiting for the song to begin so they can dance. But all these kids believe they are in a conflictual relationship with some imagined dominant public that disdains them. They believe most people would, quote, not want to be mistaken for the kind of person who would participate in this kind of talk, or be present in this kind of scene, end quote. Yet they cannot deny that they are also a part of that imagined dominant public. They are linked to the dominant public by discourse such as popular music, presidential addresses, and TV shows, in the same way they are linked to the counterpublic by local shows, underground zines, and cult movies. Linked to both publics, the audience is both dominant and counter, both in conversation and excluded from, both oppressive and oppressed. Warner accounts for this. Quote, one can exist in many publics simultaneously, end quote, and each of these publics is a social fiction anyway, and they only exist in the interplay between address and reception. In short, the distinctions don't exist in any tangible way, and hardly exist discursively. However, how we trace these distinctions both as scholars and members of a public matters, because it creates different effects, depictions of power, and social realities. Academics usually depict power and reality not by who is addressed, but by political affiliation. Check it. Jerry Hauser categorizes the Polish dissident Adam Michnik as a voice in the counterpublic, despite him being in discourse with the dominant public as well. Nancy Welsh discusses protesters as counterpublics, though their rallies are a discourse with the dominant public. Even Nancy Fraser, who defines subaltern counterpublics as those discursive communities who are denied access to the public sphere, focuses on those bodies as political entities rather than social or personal ones. And this is a problem. If we make the distinction on the basis of political agendas, then we need to ask whose politics we are dealing with. If a public makes and organizes a worldview together, then we can't find the public's politics in any one of the parts. Instead, the politics is in the mix of bodies, ideas, and values. The public is not a unified symbol, but rather what Randy Martin would refer to as an abstract totality.
Check it. Martin explains that in an abstract totality, quote, plurality is organization, unquote. Bodies are not unified. Instead, they are making connections. Like the Lose surface, the kids of the show exist between the manic control of the symbol and the schizophrenic depth of the body without organs. But this surface is fragile, real fragile. While it might seem that Annihilate controls the event, they are, as Susan Kozel would say, reacting to other bodies, not controlling them. This becomes obvious as other people, such as the owner of 217 Skate Shop,
takes the stage unannounced.
Corey's in the house and he's taking over. 217's taking over, I guess.
His lack of control is true throughout the show. The rhythms of the band affect the crowd, creating what Brian Asumi would refer to as microperceptive cuts. But other elements, such as the dancing, produce similar cuts where affect changes bodily comportment. The symbols on jackets, t-shirts, and flesh also make these cuts. And these cuts together create the surface.
Check it. Near the end of Maximum Rock and Roll thinks we're hopped up on goofballs. Jeff says,
Who's in your swastikas?
Becomes standard for the crowd as Hitler salutes the band in time with music during this breakdown. The point seems at worst to be a quick association, and at best to cheap irony. However, it reinforces the hierarchy of Warner's concursive public. Hitler is replaced by Annihilate, fascism is replaced by hyper-individuality, and the scene replaces the Nazi Party. The salute can be read like a text that instructs a symbolic unity among the participants, even if the symbol's meaning is up for interpretation as ironic, or genuine, or something in between. But the band did not force the crowd to salute. The crowd began saluting on their own. Perhaps this is not a symbolic unity, but instead Randy Martin's abstract totality, a communal celebration of coordinated movement emerging from a group. Perhaps the choreography illustrates the violence symbols enact on their users while simultaneously illustrating the liberatory connections of abstract totalities. Perhaps movement is always, inevitably, full.
Check it. What about these kids behind me? Their whirlwind of bodies trading energies, knees, elbows, faces, and fists. They interact and become a part of the music, the show, the crowd, the pit, while always maintaining their individuality. As Martin might say, they are part of the assemblage, but they are not a unity. The rhythms of the band encourage them to crash and rest, but this is what Masumi would call a, quote, non-sensuous similarity, end quote. The dancing bodies only resemble the music by dissimilar means, while their bodies' kinesthetic awareness links them to themselves and others. Kinesthesia has emotional connections in politics. John Martin argued that audiences would feel the emotion of a stage dancer as if they were the ones making the movements. The kids in the front row who dance and sing with Jeff make me believe in this kinesthetic connection, but the kids in the pit don't care about how Jeff moves. They move in non-sensuous similarity with the music. They move to react and interact with other bodies. They affect and are affected. A flurry of elbows and knees slams into an unsuspecting kid. The kid goes down, is pulled up, is hugged, and asked if she's okay. A lesson in excess, empathy, and moderation non-symbolically learned. Check it. What about this kid to my left, practicing the first verse to Run DMC's It's Tricky under his breath, waiting for the band to go into the breakdown of Vomitina, when they pull people up on stage to freestyle or sing some hip-hop. This open mic breakdown is the epitome of how Annihilate interacts with the audience, but it is not the only way. During the show, the crowd takes over the stage to dance, and Jeff responds,
Be a little careful, and we won't have to, everybody be cool, we won't have the security have to come up here, so you guys are doing great. I think you guys are doing great.
Up here, they left.
A little bit later, he shares the band's water with the thirsty crowd.
No, go ahead and pass it around, but don't get it on the stage. It's already slippery, so slippery I can't move up here. I want to perform, but I can't perform up here.
The band and the audience are not only sharing in an event, but also with the dancing and singing, a performance, in the sharing of water, sustenance, and in the care for safety, responsibility. Randy Martin has argued that these types of, quote, kinetic intentions are a collective involvement because they twist that group into a body whose only recourse is movement deeper into community, end quote. Martin used this idea to argue for abstract totalities over symbolic communities, but he's describing a dance where the stage and audience are separate. Doesn't everything presented on a stage, by virtue of being presented, become symbolic? What happens when the stage no longer creates a barrier? The sharing of water, the co-creation of songs, the shared movements, the sharing of kinetic energy is what creates a bond beyond the symbolic. But even in this instance, the audience does not need to go deeper into community. People can leave if they want. Sharing in the creation of the event and circulating desire are choices.
Check it. Warner has argued that publics are loose constructions of people united through discourse. But what happens to these connections when they provide us more than just discourse? They are extra symbolic ways for publics to meet. Groups do more than discuss. They move. They act. Even newspaper readers interact with the material of the paper or the keys of the computer. When we create a poetic worldview, we do not simply discuss what the world should look like. We take our experiences with the world, the molding walls, the dark back alleys, the skate ramps, the clothes we wear, the movements of our bodies, the sharing of space with others, the smeared makeup under our eyes, and we combine them with the experiences of others to make something, a text, a song, a show, a freestyle, a dance, a pit, something. These things have material conditions and bodies. They decay, they break, They can only be accessed in certain ways. They end, but they are still part of the public, if only in remembrance. Those who engaged, participated, argued, and so forth were a part of a public that helped to create some kind of politic. It may not have been symbolically united, but it existed. It was both textual and embodied. It was both affective and intellectual, and it remains in the minds, bodies, thoughts, scars, feelings, aches, and desires of the people who left the show. The event leaves and spread.
Check it. The realm of the body spreads desire like disease. Lessons of excess, empathy, and moderation. Politics in song and action. Perhaps this is what we need to realize.
Or need to remember.
Publics are not constant and knowable views of the world, static politics, but rather, they are the mixing of indefinite and infinite perspectives, an extra symbolic politic. They are always becoming. They are an abstraction, not that they are not real. They are found in the corporeal realities of tangible bodies. But they are more than the sum of these parts as organized at any given point. Their effects are not limited to a pre-political engagement. They are the creation of a poetic and political world, which can perhaps affect the larger assemblage of which the public is a part. It, like everything else, is always in the middle of other connections and possibilities. Publics are, in this way, moments not only of discourse, but also of bodily interaction that try to build a different world within a larger assemblage. The speakers who emerge from these assemblies are not heroes, but the temporary products of an ever-changing worldview. Check it.
The hard, you never thought that hip-hop would take it this far. Now I'm in the limelight cause I rhyme tight. Time to get paid, blow up like the world trade. Born sinner, the opposite of a winner. Remember when I used to eat sardines for dinner? Peace to Ron G, Brucey B, Kid Capri, Funk Master.